Well, there was a minister that was asked to inform Joe Jones, who had a heart condition, that he had just won $60 million in the state lottery. And Joe's wife was afraid that the shock of the news would cause his heart to be overwhelmed. So she asked their minister to come and break it to him gently. So the minister went to Joe's home, sat him down, and said, "Joe, what would you do if you won the $60 million lottery?" "Well, Pastor," Joe responded, "I would give half of it to the church." And Joe looked around and noticed the minister had passed out on the floor. Let's plant some seeds. What was that? No, I do a whoop whoop. So here we are, after Easter. What a glorious Easter I feel like we had here at Unity of Gaithersburg. And we are continuing. This is the last Sunday that we're going to be bringing Brene Brown's Braving the Wilderness into our message series. And I just want you to know that it has been a blessing to me to bring her teachings into our Wednesday night groups, which we've just had wonderful Wednesday night gatherings, very rich and deep and expansive, and also bringing her energy and her wisdom into Sunday mornings. And it was wonderful to bring her wisdom into the energy of Easter and to bring Jesus into the equation. I have to say, I love Jesus. Jesus is great. But boy, after Jesus Christ Superstar, I'm ready to go on a Jesus roll. It was so beautiful. And of course, just the energy of Easter was beautiful. And last week, we talked about Brene's last chapter of her book called Strong Back, Soft Front, Wild Heart. And we related the strong back and the soft front to Jesus' journey. Because wow, did Jesus ever model having a strong back? And Brene talks about what a strong back is. So when we walk in the world with a strong back, we release the need to be perfect. We release the need to people please and to fit in. Wow, did he ever model a strong back? So he stood in the wilderness, and what Brene talked about, what the wilderness is, we've talked about it over the last several weeks, is that ability to stand in your truth, knowing who and what you are, being able to navigate that, and as you're doing that, have a sense of self-belonging. Because you truly do know who and what you are. That's the ultimate belonging, right? Right? Yeah. And of course, Jesus taught that the kingdom of God is within you, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And I love that this whole idea of a strong back, when we're strong, we stand in our truth. Jesus never stood like this. He stood like this. With his energy centers aligned, his heart open. Yeah, he didn't apologize for who he was. He knew who he was. And he remembered that love is the greatest harmonizer and healer. He modeled great vulnerability. He modeled forgiveness, being tender and unconditionally loving in the face of being ridiculed and betrayed by his closest friends. Yeah, the greatest strength that we have, folks, that Brene has taught us is the vulnerability that comes from being the first person to say, I love you, being the person to say, I forgive you, I have compassion for you, to allow our love to rise and express. And see, when we have a strong back and an open heart, we allow the love that abode in our heart to express and to express fully. Brene says a soft and open front is not being weak, it's being brave. It's being the wilderness. Having that soft front. You know, again, when we have a strong back, sometimes we feel like we have to armor our heart. Well, I need to protect myself from certain energies. I need to protect myself from certain people, certain situations. And there's ways to navigate in the world using healthy boundaries. But folks, the tricky part is that when we armor our heart to guard out certain feelings and energies, it can't not block the whole expression, see? We can't block just one without blocking the whole. And so Brene's been teaching us how to be in the world, being the stand, being the love we want to see, being the light of oneness in the midst of the darkness of belief and separation, to open our heart, our whole being to life, and to just love anyway. Yeah, our journey home to ourselves. And again, Jesus modeled that, letting life in. And Brene talks about how walking in the world with a straight back and an open heart is not for the faint of heart, because all of us in this room have stories, and we have some scars. Yeah, but that's when the wild heart comes in. One that stays open and loves anyway, one that says yes anyway, one that learns to navigate the paradoxes of life. The paradoxes of life. To be tough and to be tender. To be brave and have fear. To be scared and exhilarated. To be fierce and kind. And to accept the light as well as the dark, all at the same time. That takes courage, and it takes vulnerability, and it takes love. And having a wild heart is also being able to be in the forefront of working toward justice and equality, and see the struggles of the world, and at the same time seek out moments of joy in our own lives. And so I just wanted to ask, because I've worked with this and I've struggled a little bit with this. Have you ever been like sitting in a really nice restaurant, or sitting in a concert? I went to Bobby McFerrin on Friday night, and it was yummy. And, and just having those wonderful, cultural experiences, having experiences where you're enjoying a really great meal with your family, or sitting at home with your family in a beautiful, safe home. And do you ever have a thought, wow, the people over in Syria, don't have this. They, I've felt a little guilty about it. How can I be, enjoying Bobby McFerrin or Jesus Christ Superstar on television, or going out to a really nice dinner with my friends, and know that my brothers and sisters around the world are struggling, that might not even have enough to eat or shelter over their head, and shamefully think, none of this first world stuff matters. But it does matter. And that's what Brene wants to teach us in this chapter, folks, because you know why it matters? Joy matters. Joy matters. Whatever it is you're doing to make a difference, whether it's part-time or full-time activism, or raising children who are conscious and awake to who they are, or volunteering here at Unity of Gaithersburg or in another organization where love is part of the mission, where inclusivity is part of the values, you are showing up to support other people, folks. In our little corners of the world, and all that we do in service, we're doing our part to co-create a world that works for all. It's no small thing. If you are called to do more, great. If you're not, don't diminish what you're doing, please. Please don't feel guilty for the joy that you create and have in your life. Because the love, the joy, and the belonging that you are creating in your life is what we want all of us to have accessibility to, don't we? Yeah, we want that for everyone, a true world that works for all. And if we don't have it, folks, we can't give it. So it serves no one to diminish our experience in comparison to what others have gone through or are going through. When we lessen our ability to be empathetic to ourselves, we lessen our ability to be empathetic with others. We don't get to lessen our own joy to lessen another's pain. It serves no one. So don't forget to claim life's joys. And another thing, please don't lose your sense of humor. You know, that's part of the reason why I tell a joke on Sunday morning. I know sometimes they are true groaners. But when you groan with me, at least you feel the pain. And I just feel, I feel like it's so important. You know, that's another one of the paradoxes of life, is that we get to be honoring of all people. And we also get to poke fun at ourselves. Not in a mean-spirited way, ever. But let's just not forget to laugh. And to look in the mirror when we get up in the morning and have chicken head and go, oh, God, you look really goofy. And to remember our joys with a grateful heart. So I'm just going to ask you in this moment, close your eyes just really quickly if you would, and just think of something that brings you great joy. What brings you great joy? And allow yourself to feel the gratitude in your wild, open heart for what brings you joy. Oh, isn't it wonderful to celebrate what brings us joy? Folks, we deserve to have what brings us joy. We deserve to create more of it in our lives. Brene says, a wild heart is awake to the pain in the world, but does not diminish its own pain. A wild heart can beat with gratitude and lean into pure joy without denying the struggle in the world. We can hold that tension. It's not always easy or comfortable. Sometimes we struggle with the weight of the pull. But what makes it possible is a front made of love and a back built of courage. So just take a breath. You can open your eyes now. So folks, today, let's embrace our strong back, front heart, open, wild hearts. Let's just embrace. And let's envision a world. Let's see a world where open, wild hearts are leading us. Yeah. Strong backs of courage and soft fronts of open hearts, strong in their vulnerability and willingness to stand in the wilderness and know who they are and see others for who they are. And honestly, I believe that is what Jesus tried to teach us, folks. Love one another. The greatest way to do that is to belong to ourselves, to come home to our true nature, to know, claim, and express what we are to the best of our ability, to navigate the world with a strong back, a soft front, and an open, wild heart, to take risks and to be curious about each other, to ask each other questions and then listen, to love with a crazy, open, wild heart, to let life in, to say yes, to speak your truth, to take a stand, to be the change. Let's do it. Let's be it. Are you ready? You wild and crazy people? You wild and crazy, open-hearted, loving, precious, amazing lights in this world. That's what you are. Thank you for walking the journey at this time. And you're here because you can be. So let's affirm together. I live with an open, wild heart. I take a stand, speak my truth, and know who I am. I love with abandon and claim life's joys. I am the change I want to see in the world. And so it is.